Hello and welcome to our public meeting, proposed zoning amendment this December 19th, 2022. Call to order at the call of the chair at 6:30 p.m. Can I get a mover, Councilor McNell, and a seconder for the agenda, Deputy Mayor Lang. So all in favor of the agenda as presented? Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. Any declarations of pecuniary interest on this particular item? All right, seeing none, let's move into new business. The zoning bylaw amendment. Tessier, Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start the meeting off by reading required wording under the Ontario Planning Act. So this is a public meeting under Section 34 of the Ontario Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and or make written or verbal representation either in support of or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body is not entitled to the appeal the decision of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body may not be added as the party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless there are reasonable grounds to do so. So we have one application before us this evening. This is known as the Tessier Zoning Bylaw Amendment. It's located at part of Lot 24, Concession 1, in the geographic township of Lancaster, now in South Glengarry, on the north side of Willow Drive in Wesley's Point. The subject property is approximately 0.35 acres in area. So this would be the location of the subject property on the north side of Willow. And the purpose of this amendment is to rezone the subject property from limited services residential to limited services residential special exception 12 to permit a proposed residential garage to be the main permitted use on the subject property that is proposed to be 195.1 square meters in area, and to recognize the non-conforming status of an existing garage that's been on site for many years. All other applicable provisions of zoning bylaw 3809 shall continue to apply. So the applicant proposes to construct a 195.1 square meter residential garage in the northwest corner of the property. As I mentioned, there's an existing garage that will remain in the southeast end of the property. The property is unserviced, and if approved, the garage will serve as the primary use of the subject property. In fact, though, there really won't be a space to accommodate a dwelling on that location with a septic system, given the approximate locations of the proposed garage and the existing one here. This is a little bit of a closer up drawing where this is where the proposed garage would be located. And then you can see in the corner here, these garages are existing, and they've been there for quite some time. Based on aerial views and our lack of records for those structures. So the property is currently designated rural district in the county official plan. It is zoned limited services residential in the zoning bylaw, and that's simply because it's located on a private road. And the proposed amendment does conform to the official plan and the provincial policy statement. To date, I've received no comments whatsoever from the public, written or oral. We did circulate the application to the Raisin Region Conservation Authority. I've asked for their comments by January 6th. And the zoning amendment will be subject to a decision of council in the future. And it's our goal to bring a staff report to council on the January 16th meeting if all goes well in the process. So we do have Mr. Tessier here this evening. He could probably answer any questions you may have in regards to the proposed garage, the approximate location. There we go. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So seeing there are some members of the public, are there any comments or questions within the public or clarifications? No. Any from around the table at council? Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor McDonald. Ms. Haley, I was wondering, could you just walk us through again the comments about the size of the lot and potential use to have a house and septic, et cetera? If you could just go through that again, please.
Sure. So when you have a property that's 0.35 acres in size, that's not a very large property, and you can see the dimensions on the drawing that was provided. To meet today's standards, ideally you would want a 1 acre parcel of property minimum that would be able to provide an adequate building envelope as well as space for a septic system and a well. In this particular case, Mr. Tessier has a dwelling across the road on the water side. When he purchased his property, I believe you told me it came with 3 or 4 parcels. And why these private road areas were designed the way they were and you know, these small lots were created, we're not sure. But you'll find that a lot of these properties are not great for development for residential purposes because of their size. So with this one, and you can see there was, as I mentioned, an existing kind of garage shed here. And then there'd be adequate space to construct a 195 square meter garage. I understand this is not meant to be serviced. No septic or well is to be located on this property. And therefore, in some cases, these types of uses are the best and sometimes the only uses for these really small lots. This one's not too bad at 0.35 of an acre. We've definitely have smaller lots than that in our waterfront areas, but definitely more costly to build for residential purposes if you can even achieve that. So hopefully that answered your question.
Deputy Mayor Lang?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Yeah, and I realize it's not a very big lot, but it is pretty near double the size of all the lots around it. It's a big garage, I think. Would it not be like 30 by 60? Is that 30 by 70? That's like the size of a shop.
Well, I propose that half of it will be storage for boats, and I don't like a messy yard, you know.
Excuse me, can I just ask that you put your microphone on so the public can hear you? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't like a cluttered yard. I do own quite a few things and eventually want to retire down there in the next year or two. So it's primarily storage with a workshop within. I love to tinker, I love to fix things, so.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to me, I don't see a major issue. I think it's very much like our public meeting 2 meetings ago, I think it was, for McLaughlin's Point. It's probably the best use for a property down there as opposed to adding another house in there to clean it up a little bit. Personally, I don't see the issue. I wish I had a garage that big. Thanks.
All right, any more comments from the public or from council? Okay, thank you. Ms. Haley, did you have anything to add? Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Tessier, and then I guess I call to adjourn the meeting if I have a mover. Okay, perfect. We'll adjourn to the call of the chair at 6:39 p.m.